I used to believe breakfast was important. And it kind of makes sense in some way. Like if you're gonna have a big meal and have it for breakfast, and you've got the rest of the day to like the worst thing you want to do is eat a big meal and then go immediately to bed.
I was
That ain't good.
I seldomly cook breakfast. I'm not really a breakfaster, but this morning I woke up at not my normal home, and I had some bacon and I was gonna make it, and I found out very quickly that the smoke detector at this Airbnb I was staying in was incredibly sensitive. And I don't know how you like your bacon, if you even like it at all. But my preference for bacon is I want to be able to hold on to one end of it and have it
Mm-hmm.
be erect. Like, I want to be able to hold on to one end and
Could have
keep.
said straight line or not floppy.
What's the opposite of not floppy?
I'm just saying you didn't need to make it into a dick joke.
I was. It's the first word that came to my mind for stiff, I guess. I want my bacon to be rigid. How about that? I prefer my
There you go.
bacon. I'll use an engineering term. I prefer my bacon to be rigid. I want to be able to hold on to one end of it and have it stay rigid. Zero floppiness up and down. And that means you have to cook it longer. I like my
Yeah.
bacon to be a little bit overcooked. And the amount of smoke that I filled this Airbnb with set up the fire alarm. And then I immediately got a call and a message on Airbnb from the people being like, "Hey, is everything okay? Should we send people over?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just cooking bacon. I'm so sorry."
You're gonna take your B&B deposit.
I hope not. I
Why
hope
were
the
you at
place.
an Airbnb?
Oh man, dude, I've had. I know that. So we didn't have a show last week, and that's
Uh-huh.
mostly my fault. Uh, Even though you're the one who's across the world, it's definitely mostly my fault. And that's because I've been I've had a crazy January. I think that I worked every day from January 3rd until Thursday. It was like 20 something days straight. And at the end of the day on Wednesday was the launch of Liquid Plus. And I do not want
Mm-hmm.
to turn this podcast into an ad because I've spent the last 2 months making ads about Liquid Plus. Um, which you'd think like, oh, can you subscribe and then you get all of your videos for free and you can watch Mulan? No, that's Disney Plus. Um, but
For a second there, I thought this deal was a whole lot bigger than you were talking about earlier. What?
anywho, yeah. So Liquid Plus launched on Wednesday, and we did a 3-hour live broadcast stream from a studio, which is great and fun, and it was great to see people and work in person. But the build up to that, plus everything else I've been doing at work, has just been a lot. So I intentionally took Thursday and Friday off for a 4-day weekend, which I'm right in the middle of right now, and I did something new, and I'm going to just really. I'm pretty sure that my mom doesn't listen to this, so I'll just go ahead and say that we tried mushrooms.
Okay.
Um, and if that wasn't enough of a clue, if you are listening, Mom, that you should have stopped when I said that, then I mean, that's on you. You should probably pick up the context clues. And
Yeah, you don't want to hear about the orgy that happens afterwards.
there was two people there, and I'm pretty sure that by definition, two people cannot be an orgy. Also, zero orgies. Just to really solidify that. Um, I took a 4-day weekend. I turned off all notifications on my phone, which is why when I got back home today, I saw like 7 messages from Austin. I'm like, I probably should have told him I turned off notifications. And I wasn't looking at any messaging apps. Sorry about that. We
Okay.
drove out from Los Angeles to Joshua Tree, which I'm pretty sure is the stereotypical place where you want to go do things like this. And
Yes, because I'm not somebody who's into any kind of psychedelics, and I know of Joshua Tree,
yes,
so
exactly.
that must be. very stereotypical if I know about it.
From the movies, or like, you can kind of drive through like what's kind of Joshua Tree and like GTA 5 a little bit, or just like greater Los Angeles knowledge. You go out there and it's kind of like a desert yuppie community of a bunch of people and a bunch of like cool properties. And I think that Airbnb has been a real boom to them because they just like to rent out these swanky looking houses. So we went there, we got a house, we parked, we checked in, we unlocked the door, unpacked our stuff, and then we pulled out this bag. And for I guess to preface some of these questions, no, haven't done mushrooms before. Yes, had a lot of questions and experience. Definitely read probably too much of the subreddit, which probably isn't the best. It's either the best or worst way to learn something. I'm gonna go with it was okay. But I had nothing to like. I didn't just want to eat them straight because I'm a child, and the idea of eating things that literally look like they have fungus and mold on them is gross.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to like grind them into a powder with. Like I didn't invest in a mortal and pestle. So I took the sharpest knife, and mind you, these things are like dry and brittle, and I just start like chopping them up like I'm gonna make a nice omelet. And instead of making an omelet, I ate them with a little bit of chocolate oatmeal.
Okay.
And then the rest of my Thursday happened. I don't know what I was quite expecting. But I ended up having what I'm gonna classify as a mild adventure.
Okay.
It felt like I was a little bit stoned, a little bit happier than normal. But I mean, my base level for happy is actually miserable. So anything above miserable is probably like an improvement, right?
Okay.
And like I wasn't like really, there were no visuals, there was no like debilitating thoughts or like laughter, nothing that was like too crazy the way it felt pretty mild. But there was things that I was just super keyed into, like I felt like my hearing had never been better than it was for those 2 hours. Like I can hear a bird take a shit 2 miles away. I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then
Any other superpowers?
And well, I think that what it was all feeding into was just like I really wanted a lot of sensory input. So the auditory was pretty noticeable. There was a lot of things that had interesting textures by me, be it like lamps or floors or the sand. I just wanted to like touch stuff and feel it, and stuff just kind of felt good. I sound so stereotypical right now, and I'm realizing this story isn't interesting. Oh, Joe, you tried mushrooms. What did you do? Well, I heard really well, and I wanted to touch things. So
I had a mild adventure. I just like touching things.
I just like touching things. Similar to my hands, I felt like hyper aware of my feet, like between like walking around outside on the sand. Like I really felt like I felt all the gravel underneath my shoes, and like I can hear it really well. I really appreciated the crunch. And that was really it. It probably lasted for about, I'd say, 90 minutes.
90 minutes, okay.
90 minutes. So I think it was also relatively short. It was 2 grams for anyone keeping track at home on their scorecard. And that was, and then afterwards, it was like, oh, hey, I guess we should cook dinner. And that was the extent of it. I kind of went in there expecting like to be a bit debilitated for like the rest of the day or 8 hours, but ended up just having like a couple hours of really liking to hear things. They had a record player in the Airbnb, and that was great. At first, I put on a Nirvana record, and
Did you touch the grooves?
Dude, I did touch the grooves of the record. I did touch the. I wish I should have.
There's so many of them.
There really are. I I should have taken pictures of all the different things, all the interesting surfaces that I was touching, just so that I can, in retrospect, either feel like an idiot or show them to you. But like they just had so many things that had cool surfaces. And yeah, that was Thursday. And there was a hot tub. The hot tub was nice. I ended up like walking around the desert, definitely naked at like midnight. That felt nice. A little liberating.
But not on mushrooms, just regular
No,
old
yeah,
silver
no.
Joey.
That was just like that was a couple ciders. So wow, I should have told that story in my head first before I sent it to you and recorded, so I could have made it better. It wasn't.
So what'd you do on Friday?
I
What was the rest of your day like? Your vacation?
I played. I watched a little TV. I watched some movies passively with Nick, my roommate, and then I played the entirety of Ori and the Blind Forest, which is about 7 hours. So I knocked it all out in one day. I took a nap. I cooked
Was that good?
cooked some ribeyes. I liked it. I like Hollow Knight exponentially more. So I'm interested if I'm gonna actually play the new Ori Will-O-Wisps. I'm gonna toss it on my backlog, but I didn't walk out of Blind Forest like with the same euphoria that I think a lot of people have. Maybe that's the theme of the weekend, is that like I never didn't quite hit that euphoric highs that was expected out of stuff. And then there were some movies that I watched I've never seen before, because I mean I never watch movies anyways. But like we watched, or I guess my roommate watched, and I was passively watching Zodiac, like the movie about the Zodiac killer. And afterwards, I decided to just, go up by myself in the middle of the desert in the hot tub, and not completely sober, and be like, wow, this was not the movie to watch before. Being alone in a desert.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so vulnerable. People can come from any angle. So that was wild.
Yeah, that guy was about to teach you the sin of gluttony. Just have you starve in the desert.
Then I watched Lost in Translation, which is a movie that I think a lot of people like, but I didn't understand why people like it. So if there's any Lost in Translation stands, so if anyone has advice on
I haven't seen it.
mushrooms or why they like Lost in Translation, let me know, because I'm confused about both of those things after this weekend. And then, just to round out the weekend story, my dude, I built a lamp today after I drove back, because that felt like a good use of my time. And it shows up really poorly on camera, but this whole stick right here, is just a lamp. There's lights on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They change colors. That's it.
I have noticed your background changing colors. Yes.
I saw a similar one on Etsy and a couple of websites for $200, and I'm like, I can make that. So I bought some Hue string lights. And then I went to Home Depot and bought some PVC and painted it. And now I have a lamp. And that's the story. Man, we're both tired, but like opposite ends of the tired spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 10 minutes away from falling asleep before you said, "Yeah, I can hang out." And you, my friend, really do look like you just woke up and potentially didn't sleep well.
Well, I didn't sleep well. I've been up for about 2 hours now. I think I slept about 6 last night, maybe less. So, not feeling great. I was in a bad mood. Yesterday was my day off. I got into a bad mood yesterday.
Oh, no.
And then I woke up this morning and couldn't go back to sleep, so my bad mood is now continuing. I did wake up in time to get my breakfast somewhat fresh, which is a slice of ham and some bread and cheese That's the breakfast that is delivered here at the hotel.
So you have a ham and cheese sandwich that's just not put together.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically what it is.
Oh man, well.
And some oats. Can't forget about your oats.
Do you just put those in your mouth?
Yeah. I treat them like I'm a horse. I just stick my tongue out and let the moisture collect the oats for me. I like to imagine I'm an anteater, you know? I'm just nah. So I'm gonna go to work today. Fortunately, we've got G Governor. G Governor is going to be joining the show, so I don't have to work start to finish every single day that I'm working. So that's good.
So it's been a couple weeks now, right? And we haven't talked much about this, but my outside opinion, just by like casually keeping track of matches or what's going on, is that they understaffed a little bit because it seems like games are going really long or days are going really long.
Okay, so this is a bunch of problems all coming together at the same time. So Fox and BSJ didn't make it in, right? So that naturally means that they cannot work as much as we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, they could be there for the panel. Like one of them could be there for the panel and one of them can co-cast, but like ultimately it means that the rest of us are working every single series. If we are working, we're working every single series. We still have Kyle and I have trade off in having one day off a week to 2 days off a week, and then everybody else has 2 days off a week. And so every single day we go in, we have to like. So we usually get we get in the shuttle at 12, and then probably don't get back past midnight. So every day is like, you know, about 12 hour more workday. Except for Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays are when we only do one best of 3. So that's actually a lot shorter. That's like 6 hours work. But yeah, it's just, you know, been working a lot. And we also, the days are going long, and that's a Valve thing, because Valve, okay, so the idea Valve had was, okay, DPC, look at the calendar. Every single hour that goes by, there's some sort of match going on, right? There are these blocks. Southeast Asia is going on right now. C. Okay, now it's CIS. Now South America. Oh, the day's over, but guess what? C starting up again, or China's starting up this time. China, Europe. All right. So the idea being that at any time you can go ahead, I'm going to watch some Dota. Check out the schedule. There's always match going on. You know, there's always something that you can plan for. I'm going to get off work at 5 p.m. At 6 p.m. my time, fucking Secret versus OG's happening. That's fucking hype. I'm going to make sure I sit down on my couch with a pizza and watch Secret versus OG. That is feasible if, like every other esports league out there, when you have these round robin dealios with scheduled times, you do them in best of 1s or 2 game series. Because obviously, a best of 3 and its time can vary dramatically, particularly in Dota, right? So Valve left 3 hours for every single match. But as people should be well aware by now, Dota can go an hour and a half for a best of 3, or it can go 5 hours for a best of 3. Those are like very feasible, like real possibilities.
High variance in Dota best of 3.
Just individual game time goes over an hour, like 1 in every like 10 games, let's say. So, you know, the possibility of that happening twice in a series and it going to game 3 You know, that's a very real possibility. You throw in the draft on top of that. That's obviously, you know, like just draft and game time. If you want to do an hour of series, you've got to have a draft dress like 10, 15 minutes. And then your game time can't be longer than 45 to make an hour. But obviously there's like in between panels, there's scheduled commercial times that have to happen. Everybody complains about commercials. That's a Twitch thing. Okay, that's another problem. Is that Valve are like doing these concrete, you must start the game cannot start until this time, no matter what's happened with the series before it. But also you can't have any overlapping games. So CIS goes late with a lower division match. The CIS upper division match cannot start until that lower division match is done. Even if you're not casting it, even if you know the tournament organizer isn't following that, they still cannot start their series on time. And you can't catch up on time because even if you have one of those short series, you have to wait to start the next series, right? So those are all problems. Then on top of that, Twitch is a problem for tournament organizers for the last year or so, where their new commercial thing is that you have to in these contracts. Most of these tournament organizers do 5 to 6 to 7 minutes of commercial time per hour. That's what is in their contract with Twitch. But Twitch has now made it so it has to be broken it up. You cannot do more than like I think 3 minutes at a time. So that's why it feels like there's so many ads and why we go to break so often, where it's like we finish up the game, we immediately toss to a commercial, we come back, break the game down, immediately toss to another commercial, because we have to break up the commercial segments, which is, you know, obviously just creates more time that a series takes, because, you know, if it was 6 minutes, just 6 minutes, then that's all it's going to be. But there's a build up time, throw to a commercial, after post commercial, a little bit of panel time, you know, like obviously there's added variables when you split things up. So, you know.
It sounds like you're definitely learning a lot about what all the problems are. And there's going to be able to be like a great write-up on everything that is making your life sad. Are they allowing different leagues to step over each other? Like, I know that you're in a situation where like CIS can't really overlap EU because it's the same studio, right? But can SEA overlap EU if it has to?
Yes, okay. So some of these things don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Okay. First of all, not giving the tournament organizers, the broadcasters, the power to be able to speed up the schedule when possible. Okay. That doesn't make any sense for me, because obviously that would just make for a better broadcast. It just would. Nobody likes to see a 40-minute fucking break happening. Like, viewers don't like it. Broadcasters don't like it. And then on top of that, it's like, so this whole idea of like, oh, you can't like overlap at all, even if you're not covering that, like the CIS lower division, that's going to take 4 hours. We have to wait for that 4 hours to start. Even though we start our show, we do our opener, like every single day, we do our opener, and on the side, we're watching the whatever lower division match is happening, and just hoping that it goes to 2-0, because the second game is happening while we're doing our opener, our opening panel, our opening segment. Then we go to break. We do our pregame of like, hey, this is the series that's coming up. Let's break that down. And then we go to another break. And that next break might be 40 minutes because, turns out it's the series went 1-1. We're going to a game 3. And shocker, we've gone over the time limit. You know, we've gone over that 3 hours. It happens almost every single day at this point. So we always start late.
What are you doing for those 40 minutes that you're starting late? Like, are you guys getting back on broadcast and just like...
No, we like, they will tell us, you know, fill as much as you can, but then eventually we just go to a commercial break and then play 40 minutes of music and ads. So we're not filling that time.
And then you just sit there also, right? Like, I mean, I guess you're watching the game, but like you're at work being like, well, our day's delayed an hour, so we're definitely doing at least an hour longer than we should be.
Yeah, so that happens every single day, right? But, hey, You know, at least by not having this overlap, every game gets its own due. You know, lower division, upper division, doesn't matter. You want to watch some Dota? There's some Dota going. Wait, never mind. Because C can overlap with Europe and CIS, and Europe and CIS can overlap with NASA. So, like, there's not... Okay, but, like, why exactly? Are they allowed to overlap with each other? The regions are allowed to overlap with each other, but the individual games can't overlap at all? That doesn't quite make sense, but fine. You want to do no overlapping whatsoever. You got to make a way to be able to speed up the schedule. But they have these scheduled start times where even if, you know, like, okay, we're going an hour late, but we managed to make a really fast 2-game series, we can actually, like, we're a half an hour before the next game starts. We can actually start that one a little early, right? That would be the ideal situation. So that way, if the last game goes, you know, or this next series goes 3 games, it goes long, we'll still be able to start the last series of the day somewhat on time. But we can't do that. So it's literally the worst of both worlds.
Now,
and I don't know.
I know that this probably, if I'm thinking about all the people in the world that this is affecting the most, the answer is probably you. Is it as bad for the viewers as it might be for, like, your time at work? Or
I mean, that's the thing.
Benefit for the viewers, and it's like just you that's suffering.
I don't think that there is a whole lot of benefit to the viewers to have this, because the thing is that, like, I totally understand scheduled starting times, and, like, I think it does make sense if you weren't doing best of 3s. Okay, you know, the day before Secret OG starting at 6 p.m. Great, you're going to tune in at 6 p.m. You don't have to worry about being there. You know, when it starts earlier or something like that, you can be there at 6 p.m. If it happens to start later, well, at least you got there on time. And now you're just going to wait a half an hour for Secret versus OG.
Yeah, it's like going to a concert, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty normal. But, like, I think that I mean, we'd have to do some sort of surveying, but, like, I feel like the average viewer, the average esports viewer, is more annoyed by the fact that we have these longer pauses for both sides of the story, right? It's like this one goes long. If you tuned in to watch OG versus Secret and you're waiting on some lower division match, chances are you don't give a fuck. If you specifically tuned in for that series, like, you don't give a fuck about the lower division match that's happening, right? Yeah, like, most people don't.
Yeah, you're right. I don't.
And then on top of that, if that ends up the people who care about the lower division match and we're actually like, I'll watch some Dota. Yeah, lower division, that sounds fun. And then are also very likely going to watch the next series. They're harmed by the fact that there's a half an hour break where they're just like, oh, well, they're not starting the next game yet. Like, okay, I guess I'll get up and go do something else for half an hour. And I think a lot of those viewers, like, some of those viewers potentially don't come back, you know? And then on top of that, like, the worst possible situation is I'm hyped for the last series of the day. Nigma versus Secret. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. But first series went 3 games. Second series went 3 games. Third series went 3 games. The fourth series, and this is literally what happened and why people were complaining on Reddit, like, why is Stream League starting fucking Nigma versus, why is that starting at, like, midnight? Well, at that point in time, like, the whole entire concept of the schedule was, I want to be able to tune into this match, so I'm going to check in at this time to watch that match. Well, when you are 2 hours late or 3 hours late of starting a game, you know, like, normal people's lives means that they can no longer watch that series, you know? No, normal people just don't have, like, fucking 6 hours to be like, I want to watch that one thing. Let me just cut off 6 hours of my day to make sure I catch it.
Can I talk to you about a fringe case scenario here that's beneficial?
Yeah.
Say that you're someone who wants to watch primarily a single team in the EU DPC. Now, this person doesn't live in Europe. They're actually in North America. And even more so, that person is on the West Coast, which in theory would have like a 9-hour time gap for Europe. And you're thinking, man, these games are starting at like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. Like, I'm on real gamer hours. I'm not waking up at that time. That's bullshit. How am I ever going to watch these games? I don't want to set an alarm to watch my team. But wait a second. Because the schedule is so consistently delayed, I can just tack on like an hour or 90 minutes to whenever the start time is going to be. And then suddenly, there's this Dota that I really want to watch that's happening at like 10 in the morning, which is perfect waking up, starting work, getting coffee, getting in the groove, and there's a game going on. That is,
you know what, Joey?
Almost ideal.
That actually highlights my point even more, because you are not a beneficiary, Joey. You are begun planning your schedule to watch this one series, which is entirely what this like segment is like, oh, people want to watch this series. This is the time you are already changing your schedule and saying, oh, I want to watch Liquid. It happens at this time. Well, I know it's going to be late, so I'll tune in an hour, 90 minutes later. But guess what, Joey? That doesn't happen consistently. One of these days, you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, huh, well, I'm already at the end of game 2. Guess it was a 2-0. Secret bopped the shit out of Liquid. I didn't see any of it. Because you know what? That was the one day we started on time.
I think you're making a lot of assumptions here, Cap.
So you can't plan. Can't plan. The whole entire idea of a schedule is for you to be able to plan, but because of the inconsistency of the schedule, you can't plan.
When did I ever say this person was me? It was a hypothetical.
The hypothetical Liquid fan in California.
It didn't have to be Liquid. Maybe maybe my roommate's a big Alliance fan. You don't know.
Anyway, I it's annoying to me. Like, my day is fine. I don't care that much. I'm literally just sleeping, getting up, going to work, and I'm fine with that because like I don't have anything else to do. So like I'm totally fine working all day, every day, until I'm done. You know, I'm making money. I'm having a good time. The show's fun. Great. The reason I'm annoyed is that it just doesn't seem to make very much sense to me. You know, like if this whole entire idea was to make pretty much a better show of Dota, why not put some power into the people making that show? You know, like the show makers probably know what makes a good show. You know, and like, you know, I totally get like if players, you know, they have a scheduled start time, then it said, you know, it starts a half an hour earlier or something like that. You know, they're not super happy. I get that. And there could probably be some sort of restrictions. A series can start only a half an hour sooner, or you have to have some sort of heads up or something like that. But like, you know, we've been doing this for LANs and esports for forever. We never have like a scheduled start time. This is when this match starts. We have scheduled start time. This is when the opening match starts, and we're going to keep the show going, you know, relatively quick as possible to make sure there's constant flow of content.
My first thought here, thinking about like a fix or maybe something I'd propose. It's something that you actually touched on a little bit earlier. Is that maybe best of twos are king here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just as simple as getting, because a lot of the schedule that's being a problem right now is you don't know what games are going to go to 3 games. And it looks like these leagues, especially ones like Europe, are pretty competitive. And there's a lot of 3-game series going on. But if you have a 2-game series, you always know it's going to be 2 games of Dota. And you're right. Maybe those 2 games of Dota take 2.5 hours, or maybe they just take 1 hour. There's still like that variance there, right? But at least you don't have the variance of an entire plus or minus hour with a 3rd game.
Yeah. I think Kyle and I have talked about this. Kyle's going to write a blog post, so expect that to go up on Reddit at some point in time. But
The power of
he talked about this, and I agree. Like best of twos, if you did best of twos or a 2-game series, then just run it back. So just do that twice, so that way when a team faces off at week 1, day 1 against Secret, 3 weeks later they're got a chance to face Secret again. You know, that way there's also more matches. There's more matches, which I know is like some players have a problem with. They're literally playing like 1 or 2 officials a week. That's very low. So that would give them more matches. That would obviously make for even more content, which is good, especially if you're only covering the upper division. Like many tournament organizers are. Very few tournament organizers are doing anything with the lower division. And then, you know, I don't know. I think there are a lot of things that should probably be fixed. I also have an idea that I don't believe 7th and 2nd should swap places when it comes to the DPC upper and lower. So right now it's bottom 2 and upper 2 swap places. I think bottom team, 8th team, and the first team in the lower division should swap. And should be guaranteed. But then I think you should have a match between the 7th best team versus the 2nd best team. Because there's like I think if you get first, you deserve to go into the upper division. But if you get second, are you really better than the 7th best team?
It's probably different for different regions, but I think almost universally no.
Yeah, I think very, very likely.
Give me a best of 5 for that too. Like make it. Make it potentially crazy.
I think there's like, if I had to bet, I'd be like 75% of the time. I bet the 7th best team in the upper division is able to hold on to their spot. You know? So that would add some real weight into the difference between 1st and 2nd and 7th and 8th, which right now, if you're 7th and 8th, you don't really, you don't have anything to play for, and the difference between the two. There's going to be forfeited matches. I know that's like 100% coming, I think, because some teams are, whether because of roster locks or because of dead rubber matches, they just are already out or don't care. So, you know, that's going to happen, which is, I think, less likely to happen with best of twos. Well, and actually, it's probably the same, but with the 7th-8 difference, there is at least something to play for. And then on top of that, you need to change the roster lock. That's actually the biggest problem there, is the roster lock. And the fact that you put together a squad, you put together a stack, you join an open qualifier thinking, hey, maybe we can actually make it in. Next thing you know, you've actually made it in. But it turns out your mid player's an asshole and nobody wants to play with him. Or, you know, he hates everybody on the team and is demanding more money in order to keep playing. Because if he doesn't play, then you're fucked. So he's got all of you held to ransom. Those are real situations that are happening right now.
I'm excited for those blog posts. Shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's just a lot of things that probably need to be fixed, both on the broadcasting side, the playing side, even just the tournament structure.
What I think is what we talked about last time, right? It's like, hey, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems and they'll probably get fixed and iterated on, but like, and I don't think anything that's going on right now is too dire, but I think that we're just shining a light on things that aren't awesome, and we just want to make them better.
Yeah.
What
it just annoys me when things don't make sense. You know, I feel
think
like
that things make sense on paper often, right? Like I feel like if you look at the league on paper, it can make sense until maybe you like put up the real
ask any tournament organizer if you have set schedule times in a best of 3 in Dota. They're gonna tell you that doesn't make sense. Any tournament organizer's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like, I didn't know that we were doing that schedule. I didn't know. Because while we usually just series goes late, that's fine. We start the next series whenever we can, but we're always getting it out, right? Yeah. But when you can't start a you can't start because of some sort of schedule block, because this next series cannot start. Then that means there's no way to make the days like manageable in any way. So it's just we've never done that in Dota. Any Dota tournament organizer will tell you like, no, we can't do that. I've had tournament organizers try and like stick to a schedule, and it's hilarious how often it fails.
Yeah, and then it just all goes back to the game variance.
Yeah.
20-minute game or 1 hour game. You can't really compare. I think the idea of doing a best of 2 or even a best of 1 double round robin, which is much more akin to what the current LCS format is and an LEC format is, might be interesting to look to. I really wonder how much people studied other leagues, be it like League or Overwatch or Call of Duty or something that's been a little bit more finalized, or if people are like, fuck that, we'll just make our own stuff, because it seems like
if they did, they would know that those leagues do 2-game series or best of ones.
Correct, but
I'm pretty sure all of those leagues do that.
They do, and I think that in Dota we're so pretentious about everything needing to be a best of 3, because like you know what, the best team has to win 95% of the time. If Secret doesn't win their games, it's bullshit, because they're the best team and they only lost because they're playing a stupid best of 1. There's part of me that agrees with that. I understand where that logic comes from, but also it's exciting when Secret loses, or the Patriots lose, or the Lakers lose, because those games are best of 1s, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no problem. I think it's like a little unfair that like a team's chances of making the majors can come down to literally just schedule. They run into Secret on like the very first day. 5 weeks later, they're a very different team. But they had to face Secret on the first day, or they had to face some other like opponent that they could have beaten later on, but didn't get a chance to really be able to prove it. But that's kind of whatever. I just think that, like, again, the best of 3 thing doesn't make sense if you studied other leagues or if you talk to Dota tournament organizers. And then I think the roster thing doesn't make sense. The roster locks don't make sense if you talk to any players. Originally there was supposed to be that you could have infinite stand-ins. I believe it was like you could have a stand-in like every single game. But then they lowered that to 4. So that makes the roster lock situation a lot less feasible.
Like you can only just stand in 4 times over the season?
Yeah. And I know some teams that are already on they've already burned through like 3 series of stand-ins. One team in the lower division has a professional football player. He plays in Greece. And so he's been boot camping with his team, and he wasn't able to make the first 3 series. So they had a stand-in, I think, almost every single time. He later showed up, like one of the series, he showed up for like game 2 and 3, but like they still had a stand-in for one of the games. So I assume that means that it affects them. So yeah, they're like, I hope nobody gets sick. I hope he doesn't have more football things come up, because like they may just end up having to forfeit matches.
I want to hear that dude's story. That guy has to be like high functioning and just like better genetics than everyone.
Yeah.
He's like a semi-pro Dota player and a professional soccer player. Like, Jesus.
He's good too. He makes the team way better. Like game 1, they sucked ass. Game 2 and 3, they owned, because you could tell he's doing shot calling. So he's calling rotations and he's making good plays. So, that guy's just a god.
Some people are just born better, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, okay. I think we got all. I think we got all the DPC complaints out. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if it's just to call them complaints. I guess they're complaints. They're technically complaints. We're sitting here complaining.
I mean, I've got more of them, but like some of them aren't for broadcast. So
I'm just thinking, how could I put a bow on this so you can do whatever you have to do before you go to work, and I can get back to taking this shirt off and laying in bed. There's other stuff that happened. I think we can kick it down the road until later. I'm interested to talk about how people are responding to Overwatch. I see a really mixed bag about it. I kind of just want to log into Dota and just bop some fools on the head with the system. That seems like fun to me. But I haven't got to touch it yet, so I can't really comment on it.
Same. I think a lot of people haven't been. They said they would expand the Overwatch system over time, and nobody here anyway has gotten into the system yet. So.
Yeah, I should even check it. I don't even know if I am or not. Like, I might be speaking out of turn, but I really want to be.
Yeah, everybody wants to be.
That just feels like good content. Like, I think Purge tweeted about it, but the idea of just like watching Purge just like review replays for hours.
Yeah, we
seems fun.
We brought up the system on panel, and we came up with the idea of Cap's Court. So at some point in time, we're probably gonna have a red button segment where I wear a one of those big old fucking wigs and a judge's gown, and I judge some people on their fucking Overwatch games.
I wonder how hard it is to get like a very stereotypical US wig and then also a gavel in the middle of Sweden at a moment's notice.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. We'll see if we can make it happen or not. I mean, first of all, we have to get people into the Overwatch system, but nobody here has gotten into it yet. So
part of the benefit of working in film production in Los Angeles is that you can buy basically anything in the world within an hour and a half drive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about doing stuff like that, in Stockholm, which is a major European city, I'm still like, can I really find a gavel? And I don't know. I can take you 3 places in LA to go get a gavel, or like 2 days from Amazon, but to go grab one in Sweden?
Listen, worst comes to worst, we use an actual hammer.
If you do not have someone on the Dream League staff who is not actively making a parody Judge Judy intro right now, fucking fire them. Fire them. Get out.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We talked about it. Dream League's usually pretty good at running with content when we come up with stuff. So they're one of the better tournament organizers at that. So them and Omega League, probably the two best tournament organizers at taking content that is made up on the fly and running with it and creating something out of it.
Yeah. It's also good when you have talent who can, come up with creative.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've got more talent today because I feel like the show was getting stale. Us just coming in every day, and with the breaks added on top, we're just running out of filler stuff to say. So
you can only cut people's hair once.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many more red button segments they have, but honestly, every single time they have a red button, I'm actually thankful. I'm like, oh, thank God. Something to like make things happen, because there's only so much that we can do in a limited group. Like with a small number of people, and the more often you're on camera, the worse you're going to do, because you just run out of funny things to say or good analysis or something. You just end up saying the same things over and over again. And obviously, if you say something a second or third time, it's not as good as the first, no matter how good you try and perform. So it's good to have more people on, because that just increases the dynamic that can happen, Now, when I talk to Robson, I'll come up with different ideas about just various things.
When, you should just give DreamHack my number and be like, hey, you want some red button segment ideas? I got you, fam.
I really should. Let's see once I feel like their content is getting meh. But so far, all the red buttons have been fine to me.
The first time I saw it, I was definitely skeptical. I'm like, This is a very contrived way to try to inject fun into something.
Yes.
Which is exactly what it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And the first time that I saw Sheev pull it out, I'm like, oh, this is gonna go really poorly. Which is bad on me that shouldn't be my base assumption. But y'all are winning me over. So
Dream League has done really good things with the red button and really bad things with the red button. And it usually, from my experience in working on Dream League shows, which I haven't worked on all of them, but in my experience, it's just the longer the season goes, they've only planned out 5 or 6 red button segments at the start of the season.
Oh no!
You know, and then they get a few more figured out along the way. But like the last half are usually not good because you've just run out of ideas. They've had some really bad red button segments as a result. Really bad ones.
Okay, well, again, just give them my number.
In fact, they have the racist one, I think. I think one of them. Where there was like Trump was saying China, and they just kept doing that over and over again. That was the bit.
I do remember that. I'm sure that made more sense to. I don't know. I can't even defend.
Yeah. So when you're stretching for ideas, it doesn't go so well. But I've enjoyed all of them so far.
What's your game to watch today? It'll probably be over by the time.
I don't know
you don't even know. Okay, well, never mind.
I don't know what
I'll cut that out.
There. No, feel free to leave it in. Yeah, like if people think that I study these like day in day out, like I'm doing like 3 to 4, like I'm covering anywhere from 1 to 4 series a day. Actually, I think we only do 3 ever, but there's a 4 series I'm usually watching at the start of the day. It's like I don't prep at all the night before. I do all my prep because we get in there so early at the studio for everyone to do makeup and stuff that I'm doing all my prep an hour or 2 beforehand. So I roll up into the studio. I legitimately have no idea who's playing that day. Half the time, I don't even know what region I'm covering. I'm just like, what are we doing today? Let me go on to Liquipedia. And then that's when I do all my research.
That actually sounds like a healthy work balance that you don't have to do a bunch of work off clock hours when you're at home trying to prep. Like that probably helps keep you sane in some subtle way.
Yeah. Honestly, when it comes to these longer things, it's all about mental sanity and just like making sure you feel good every day. This is doing this podcast is going to make me feel good for the rest of the day, and that's you don't have to be that. Get me out of my.
It's fine.
Get me out of my funk. I'll go into the studio feeling good. Like that. That is the most underrated thing, I think, is literally just making sure that you have a good enough balance that every day you show up to work, you're feeling good. Because if you don't feel good, then you're not going to perform well when the camera's on. And so,
I'll put that on a t-shirt for you. Make that the pull quote for the episode. Hey, everybody. Yeah. This week, just going to work feeling a little bit better. And that's it. My friend, I'm going to leave you because I am very tired.
Okay.
And also, we somehow managed to pull an hour out of our ass. Maybe a little less when I cut it down. We somehow managed to pull an hour out of our ass.
It's 40 minutes of me bitterly complaining.
Yeah, I really should have told the mushroom story better. Sorry, Mom. The thing is that we're trying. I know that we missed last week. We're trying to get into a cadence that makes sense while Cap is across the world, and that might cause some snafus based on both of our schedules. But I will be making the effort to be in better communication, so everyone knows, including you listening. So check us out on Twitter. If you don't see the show on Tuesdays, we'll probably explain what's going on. I'm not escaping to try and do psychedelics anymore. Austin has a bunch of red buttons to go press and shows to go do. Is it weird to cast with the giant person on the screen behind you? Like how's that been? Is there any delay in that, or like is it
it's
weird not
actually
having the
worse.
person by you?
It's much worse paneling. Paneling is very much an in-person thing.
Ooh,
Because there's natural, very subtle cues about who's going to talk next. That happens on panel. Even when you're like the camera's on you, it's not like you're waving to people. Me. I'm gonna talk next. Like obviously that's not the case, but there's still just very natural. Even off camera, like when you're a group, there are natural things that people do to give the signal that they want to speak. And having someone remote removes that entirely. So it is actually way more awkward there. Casting is a natural back and forth, so it's very easy, right? Even if there's a delay, it doesn't matter so much because I hit the ball and I know you're going to hit the ball back,
Some cues if you want to take this conversation to your personal life. I know Cap does this too. Sometimes we'll make like a really small clicking noise before they start talking, which is like not great if you're right in front of a microphone. But like if you pay attention, you can definitely hear sometimes like just a little bit. Big inhales like that generally a sign someone wants to start talking. Starting to motion with your hands like you want to make a point, not like waving going crazy, but just like even bringing your hands up.
I do the finger all the time to let Cheever know that like don't wrap up the show yet. I've got a funny thing to say to bounce off of what was just said.
Yeah. So those are one of there's a lot of nonverbal cues when people start talking. And everyone has their own fun idiosyncratic ones too. See if you can pick them up. Ask a friend. Talk to your roommate. See your mom. I don't know. Everyone does it. It's very interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Paneling must be difficult. Oh, with one remote guest. Some fun talking over each other. But we'll stop talking over each other. We will probably, most likely, almost certainly be back next week. Cap's got some games to go cover with some regions in Europe. I got some Sunday to figure out. And maybe next week I'll tell you about how I'm becoming very self-conscious that my hair's thinning.
Oh dear. Time for that Rogaine, Joey.
Look, dude. Look, you can see that? Can you see that? You can see it on the camera right now, right? Like that's like.
Just go bald like me, Joey.
I would not look as good as you do. I'd have to drop like 20 pounds. Maybe 30.